Somewhere I Belong, Chapter 13, Part 2. You, he yelled. What a pleasure to see you again, Isaac said in a sarcastic tone. Soren turned around and saw the trainee. You know him, Thunderkicker? The stallion asked as the Pegasi approached the human. Yeah, The stallion immediately shut his mouth. What he means to say is that I cleaned his and his other two friends' clocks last week, Isaac said as he crossed his arms. The ponies looked at the brown stallion, who was gritting his teeth. You told us it was 5-on-3, one of the trainees yelled. Shut up, the brown stallion yelled. Look, how about we just get this whole... Isaac was cut off as the stallion punched him in the face. Soren immediately stepped between the two. This is far from over, he yelled. Isaac cracked his neck and looked at Soren. Soren, permission to use him in the demonstration. Permission granted, Soren said as he stepped to the side. The brown stallion grinned and cracked his knuckles. Same rules. No kicks, no punches, or biting, he said as he stepped from between them and sat down next to the nervous Spitfire. The stallion immediately started to circle Isaac, who stood as still as a statue. Some of the trainees were cheering Thunder on, while the others stayed silent. Payback time, asshole, he said as he lunged at Isaac's back. The human sidestepped him and stuck his right arm out. The stallion's chest collided with the appendage, making him fall back. His right leg went upwards, towards the ceiling. Isaac caught the leg and gave it an extra force, making the stallion do a complete backflip and landed on his chest. The ponies in the room let out a collective ouch as the stallion hit the mat. Isaac raised the pointer finger on his still outstretched arm. Rule number 1, never be too eager to rush your opponent. The stallion got to his feet and tried to jab at Isaac. The man caught the stallion's fist and started to open the fingers and apply pressure to the stallion's palm. Thunder's face contorted in pain as Isaac forced him onto a knee. A series of cracks came from the stallion's hand, which sent shivers down the Wonderbolt's spines. From this position, it's very easy to manipulate your opponent's movements, he said as the stallion got to his feet. For example, Isaac said and forced the captured hand close to the stallion's armpit and positioned the elbow at an odd angle. The stallion cried in pain at the action. This is called the chicken wing. Some of the recruits let out a chuckle. The human then forced the arm up into a right angle. The crowbar. The stallion grunted in pain. And my personal favorite. Isaac noticed that the stallion was trying to say something. He quickly made the stallion ring and pinky finger crunch against his palm, leaving his index and pointer finger exposed. Isaac then forced the two fingers inside the stallion's mouth. The pacifier, he said as he gave an upward thrust, sending the stallion onto his back. The Wonderbolt started to clap for the human as he took a bow. Isaac looked over at Soren and Spitfire, whose jaws were hitting the floor in shock. Let's, take a 5-minute break, Soren said as he sidestepped the human. Some of the Wonderbolts helped the injured Pegasus to his feet and walked towards the door. Sorry about that, Isaac said as the stallion limped past him. The stallion let out a grunt and joined the other trainees that followed the blue stallion out of the room. Spitfire looked at him, still in shock. Isaac sat down on the ground and caught his breath. Spitfire walked up next to him and sat down next to him. That was pretty impressive, she said with a smile. Thanks. Where did you learn those moves? She asked. My dad taught me. Why? I don't know. My dad was in the Marines, wanted me to carry on the tradition. Did you? Yeah, only for 4 years though, he said with a sigh. What was it like? Hard as hell, he said as he got to his feet. He helped Spitfire up and smiled. Mind teaching me some of those moves? Well, Spitfire. Dude, you don't have to use my full name all the time. I don't call you Isaac. What's your last name anyway? Trust me, it's unpronounceable, Spit, he said hesitantly. There you go, she said with a smile. As I was saying, I only use those moves when I have to, and you need to be pretty strong in order to... He was cut off as the golden mare kicked his leg out from under him and pinned him to the floor. Isaac tried to struggle, but Spitfire had a hand on each of his wrists and was sitting on his groin area. You were saying? She teased. Spitfire drew her face closer to the human's and made her chest press against his. Nicely done. He wiggled one arm free and reversed their positions so he was now on top of her, but not good enough. He was cut off as the golden mare pressed her lips against his. Isaac felt her tongue prod its way into his mouth and explore the foreign orifice. Isaac looked at the mare in surprise as she broke the kiss. The mare wrapped her tail around the human's leg and managed to break free. She grabbed one of the human's arms and pushed it up against his back. The mare then forced the human's upper body and face to the mat. Not fair. You gotta do what it takes to win, she cooed. The mare let go of the human and helped him up. Isaac discreetly slugged himself in the leg to smother his stiffening member. Having a malfunction, Spitfire teased. No, looks like you are, though, he said as he pointed to Spitfire's erect wings. The mare started to blush brightly and took a few deep breaths. The mare cleared her throat and walked over to the door. Isaac picked up his coat and bag before he followed her. Come on, we still have to test your speed, she said as she averted her eyes from the human, who was concealing his blush. The man followed the mare until she stopped in front of a door. I just need to get changed. That okay? Sure, he said as he leaned against the wall. Spitfire nodded and walked inside the mare's room and closed the door behind her. Isaac leaned up against the wall and waited for the mare to walk out. As he waited, several ponies were looking at him in surprise and amazement. As he waited, several thoughts went through his mind. Why did Dad teach me all that stuff? I mean, I'm not complaining, but just why? There must have been a reason. I guess we'll never know, he thought as the door opened to reveal the orange mare in her skin-tight blue uniform. Isaac felt his face flare up as he saw the tight blue suit hug her body, making her curves more apparent. You ready? Yeah, he said as he followed the mare down the hallway. So, what rank were you? She asked as she looked back at the man. I was a sergeant, he said with a shrug. Was it tough? The training, I mean. Oh yeah, I've never hurt more from working out in my life. What was the group called again? Marines. They're a fusion of our Navy, Army, and Air Force, the best of the best. So why did you join? Mostly to help pay for school, which really doesn't matter now that I'm here, he said as the two walked outside onto the field with a quarter-mile track ring in the center. So what are we doing now? Speed test. Normally we'd test your wing power, but since you don't have any wings, we'll have to do it the old-fashioned way, she said as she held up a stopwatch and a clipboard. Isaac set his belongings down and took his position at the starting position. Go, she yelled as Isaac took off. Spitfire watched Isaac as he picked up speed and ran past her. She felt the force created by the man hit against her fur. As Isaac rounded the final turn, he put everything he had into his legs and shot forward like a manticore was chasing him. He overshot the finish line and started to slow down. Spitfire looked at the stopwatch and recorded the results. How'd I do? He asked as he supported his weight on his knees. 6 minutes, 17 seconds. That's a new Academy record. Really? Nope, she said in a teasing tone. Why do you torture me like that? He said as he caught his breath. It's fun, she said with a smile. But you are on your way to breaking a record. What? First human to complete a Wonderbolt's training course. Like that's an achievement, he said in a flat tone as he stood up. Hey, I've seen some of the strongest ponies fail this course, she said as the human got to his feet. It's a pretty big achievement in this world, she said in a stern tone. Isaac looked at the mare, who had a serious expression on her face. Sorry, I meant no offense, he said in a low tone. It's okay, I guess. I see your point. You are the only human here after all, so there's no real competition, she said with a shrug. What's next? I just need to fill out some paperwork and then we're good, she said as she led him back inside the building. As the two went past a number of doors, Isaac caught himself staring at the mare's flank, which was magnified by her tight blue uniform. He instantly averted his eyes as the mare's head turned back to him. What's up? Why wear that thing when you're off duty? Well, it's really comfortable and lightweight, she said as she looked at her arms. Not to mention it looks cool, she said as Isaac eyed her figure. The two made their way into a large office with a large desk in the center and a lounge chair in the corner. Now, where did I put that paperwork? She asked as she started to search her desk. Search the drawers. What does it look like? You'll know it when you see it, she said as she bent over the desk and started to look through the papers. Isaac sat in the chair and started to rifle through the drawers. Isaac noticed that Spitfire was whipping her tail as she looked for the papers. Aha, gotcha, she said as she held up the piece of paper. She put the paper on her desk and grabbed a pen. Just need your signature here, she said as she pointed to a line. Isaac picked up a nearby pen and scribbled his name down onto it. Here and here, she said as she pointed to 2 more spots. The human signed his name and handed her the pen. Spitfire picked up the paper and read the name. Wow, you were right. Odd name. Don't beat yourself up over it. Almost no one gets it right, he said with a smile. So what now? Now we get you a uniform, she said as she walked over to a supply closet and withdrew a bright blue uniform with yellow stripes. The mayor handed it to Isaac, who started to look it over.